Susan Gardner here for Municipal World. We're at the 2019 Fall Workshop for the Ontario Municipal Administrators Association in the beautiful Blue Mountains Resort.
It is beautiful.
It's gorgeous.
It is, as you can see.
As you can see. Joining me in the Municipal World Media Center is my friend Kate Graham. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's so good to see you again.
Good to see you too. We've just come off of a very great session, a fireside chat about issues for women in public administration and local government, and had some great dialogue. So I'm glad you could come in and kind of continue that online with us here.
It was really cool today. And I do feel like there was some magic in the room, and definitely a shared understanding that if we want to see more women in leadership roles in local government, it's something worth talking about. It's something worth thinking about how we can advance that cause. And today there was an amazing group of women gathered together to talk about exactly that. So yeah, it was cool to be a part of it.
It was some great insights too that we heard from the audience and from the presentations. You focused on No Second Chances, some great research work that you did. Want to talk a little bit about that, what you found through that work?
Sure, sounds good. So I shared a bit about a project called No Second Chances, which if you want to check it out, you can go to nosecondchances.ca. And it looked at women in Canada's most senior political roles. So in Canada, we've had more than 300 people be a prime minister or premier, and only 12 have been women, so about 4%. And when you look at the political careers of those women, there's some really strong and I think very concerning patterns. So women tend to last half as long as men do in the role. They tend to only come in really politically difficult circumstances, the whole glass cliff concept. And when they run for re-election, they lose. And so I, together with Canada 2020, did a project where we went and talked to these 12 women and asked them, what explains that difference? Why do we see women, only serving for half the length of time as men? Why don't we see women being re-elected? And we share this through a podcast and some videos and a website and some events. But it gives Canadians a chance to hear from women who have served in our most senior leadership roles about the things that need to change in Canada if we want to see more women lead.
So pretty concerning that we've had women successfully reach those roles, but have never been successful in getting them back at the polls second time around. Right. So what were some of the things that you learned when you were out there? What were the insights?
Yeah, well, I think it illuminated a number of problems that we know to be true in all sectors, including in local government. So we know that fewer women step forward for leadership roles, and that can be for a variety of reasons. Some of it is about women having the confidence to step forward. This is sometimes called the ambition gap. But some of it's about political environments or organizations needing to be places where women's voices and contributions are valued. So women need to change and politics need to change. I think both those things need to happen together. The other thing that we learned is that expectations of women are often quite different. So for women in leadership roles, we expect the same things we expect of men, to be educated and experienced and competent and hardworking. But with women, we also have other expectations that we don't hold of men. So in addition to being all those things, we want women to be beautiful. They need to look a certain way. We want women to be perfect mothers, perfect partners, things we don't really even think about for men. And so when those expectations are layered in, it means that we are much harsher critics of women. And it can cause a lot of problems, including these big imbalances that we still see. It's crazy to me that in 2019, we live in a country where we don't see a single woman serving as a first minister. And it really does come down to some of those unconscious bias, some of those inequalities and different expectations that we still today hold for women than we do for men.
So how does this translate, do you think, into what we're seeing in terms of challenges for women in local government working in an administrative capacity, working towards leadership roles or in leadership roles and experiencing challenges?
Well, we know that at a municipal environment, so in Canada, about 13% of mayors are women. We know that that's fewer in larger communities. And the same, I don't know the stats offhand today, but the numbers of women in senior leadership roles at an administrative role is also not even close to 50%. And so until we see even numbers of women applying for and being successful and serving in leadership roles, I think it's incumbent on us to think about what are those barriers that can be getting in women's way, and how do we fiercely rip them out of their way. And so today was a great opportunity to talk about some of those things. We heard a lot of stories in the room about barriers that women themselves have experienced, and creating a community that is focused on understanding those barriers and, again, ripping them out of the way as fast as we can, I think is a really important thing for us as a sector to be doing.
What are some of the best strategies, in your opinion, to achieve this?
Sure. Well, we talked a lot today about confidence, and this is kind of a tricky one because we sometimes criticize, it's a bit of victim blaming to say, well, women just need to be
Just
more,
lean in.
just lean in, and it's all going to be fine. You just need to be more confident. And I think it's a tricky one because there is some truth to it, right? We know
Sure.
from lots of research that women tend to not have the same level of confidence that men do. Women don't tend to take professional risks and apply for that big job to the same level. We know from research that often that comes down to when we are little kids, we are socialized to think of ourselves in different ways, right? Women are evaluated on how beautiful they are and who their partners are and things that we don't even think about with men. So there is something about supporting women and building up the confidence. And if you spot someone who you believe has great talent, being really deliberate and reaching out to them and saying, you know what, you could lead. You are phenomenal. You've got a lot to contribute, and I will help you get there. And so I think that was the other part of the discussion today is how do we change local government organizations to be a place where women can thrive? And the networks of both men and women deliberately supporting women and men, but ensuring that, if you're striking a committee, make sure that there are even numbers of men and women there. If you are recruiting speakers for an event, be conscious about who's being invited, because that's the experience going on someone's resume
Yes.
to get them ready to apply for that big job the next time it comes up. So thinking about those barriers again, and how do we not only support women but also change organizations so that they are places where we see women naturally emerging as leaders in even numbers is super important. And I think there was some magic in the room today where some really important insights came out that help us get towards that
Yeah,
goal.
the piece about inviting women to be speakers. I think maybe we're seeing some positive signs of this now, that there's a little bit of recognition. We recently had another event where they had a panel of speakers, and it was all men.
It's a mantle.
It was a mantle. So this is a term that we're hearing now. And we actually had somebody who was coming in to speak with us, and it was a man, and he noticed. He was like, are there no women who could have sat on that? Of course there are.
Yeah.
And so organizations everywhere, individuals, need to kind of have an awareness of this. People are watching now, and it sends a message about you and your organization.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it sure does. And I think this, for me, one of the insightful parts of the discussion is we tend to, sometimes we think about sexism as being a problem of men, and it isn't, right? It is a problem of all of us in how we think about the differences between men and women. And men and women can both be champions of seeing the representation of women in leadership roles.
Absolutely.
There are lots of examples of men who, when invited to a panel and it's all dudes, say, nope, I would like to give up my space for someone else. We see that happening a lot, and that's really positive. So both men and women can champion the continued empowerment of women, and we need that to happen. It's not men versus women, it's us together.
It's awesome. It's a great call to action for all of us. Thank you so much,
Hey,
Kate,
anytime,
for coming in and chatting with us.
Thanks for doing these discussions. It's
Pleasure.
important. Yep.
I'm Susan Gardner from Municipal World, here with Kate Graham. We share your stories.